Hello and welcome. I am Anthony. This is my teammate Matt. We are the Amoonguss Burnouts. We are here right now to go ahead and do a draft analysis for all 14 teams in the multi-battle conference. It's going to be a pretty big task, but we're here. We're going to handle it. We're going to take care of it. So first things first, we're going to just look at the teams real quick, go overview on what we think the compositions are going to look like. Then we're going to talk about our grading scale and the metrics that we're going to use to grade all these teams. And after that, we are going to jump into our first interview with the Melee Mimikyus. So let's go ahead and get started. The first team with the first overall pick was the Sky Pillars. They chose Tokia's first overall. A very unanimously good first pick. Right off the bat with this team, great Firewater Grass Core. A couple of the other picks further down the line, we're going to see and talk to them and ask them if there's maybe some filler picks in there or if any of those really have any purpose on there.
Next up, we got the Toronto Talon Flames. Looks like they got a couple of fast offensive modes. One starring Dragapult, the other starring Colossal as support. They got a really nice Fairy Dragon Steel core with a Trick Room option. Lipard should provide some support, and then a couple more C tier picks. B tier as some attackers to round out this team.
So after that, the Stick Six Seniors went ahead and chose. They chose NDE female. They really decided to go for the best redirector in the game, and paired it with an incredible offensive threat in Porygon Z. And then you combine that with some pretty crazy win conditions that like the Corviknight and like even the Marowak and Trick Room. It's going to be an interesting core to look out for. Definitely a little bit top heavy, but we'll talk to him about that and see if that was intentional or if that was. Maybe they're planning on doing some transactions later on to fill out the rest of their team.
Next up, the Potatoes, which paired the water type Gmax Urshifu with a sand duo, along with one of the bulkiest redirectors in Togetic, allowing for a Trick Room option with Gigalith and Slowbro. Got a couple more Pokemon, the Alolan Exeggutor and the Darmanitan, Unova Darmanitan to round out that Firewater Grass core with a little bit of Poison Dark type thrown in for some maybe some crazy crit sniper action.
After that, we have the LA New Wave. They went ahead and took Mew, something that was near and dear to Matt and I's heart, especially the first two seasons that we played in this league. They followed that up with Dragapult, which is also, or I'm sorry, not Dragapult, Dracozolt, which is an incredibly good offensive threat. Something that one of the LA New Wave, Allen or Mando VGC, has used to great success in VGC 2020. They have a lot of threats. I mean, right off the bat, just stuff that they can wipe the floor with a lot of teams with. Definitely offensive powerhouse. It's going to be great to see the LA New Wave's kill death differential because we can tell right now they're in it to put some damage in.
Next up, we got Team Pussy, the defending champions. They are bringing back the Hatterene this time in its Gmax form. They've paired it next to a bunch of different threats capable of setting up and sweeping. They've got a few redirectors down there in C tier and some good support, prankster support from Lipard. They've got Fake Out, Quick Guard, Wide Guard from that Mienshao. Looks like a powerful team, lots of threats.
After them, we have the SoCal Skarmories. They took Krookodile for their first overall pick, and then followed that up with a very powerful Gmax Lapras Gudra Comfey core. They got a lot of nice support Pokemon like Mr. Mime for redirection. Obviously, the Comfey has a triage ability, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they can take a kind of defensive mode like this and churn out the wins. They definitely have the support Pokemon to make that happen.
Next up, the New England Patch Rats. They took LaFable first overall, one of the best redirectors for sure. And they've followed that up with a fantastic Firewater Grass core. They've got a great Trick Room option, the same one that Cleffy played on the New England Patch Rats last time. Followed up with a couple more, a little bit more attackers and some support, and a little bit of unburdened Tailwind there at the end with that Drifloon probably going to be carrying the Grassy Seed quite often.
After that, we have the Russian assets. They went ahead and took the powerhouse of Gmax Cinderace, one of the new Pokemon that have been released with the, well, not new Pokemon that have been released, but It's got the new ability that this season that it didn't have last season in MBC with the Libero. And then obviously with this Gmax form, it's a new Pokemon in our league, and it's gonna definitely be a threat. And not only did they grab that, but they also grabbed two incredibly threatening things right after it: the Gothitelle with the Trick Room and the Gmax Butterfree. They're really just trying to put teams through hell to have to prepare for them. So it's going to be crazy to see some of the stuff that they have planned for this year.
After that, we got the Lava Ridge Raiders. This one is a pretty straightforward looking draft. Looks like they're mostly going for a hard trick room team with a little bit of sun as well. It's a pretty powerful sun option with that Gmax Venusaur and that Gmax Vine Lash.
After that, we have Doesn't Click. Doesn't Click was the back-to-back champion, not last year, but the year or the season before that, and then the season before that. Let's just say that it's looking like Empire Strikes Back with what they have here. They went with Cinderace, Primarina, and Serena, a great Firewater Grass core, and they rounded it out just with a good, solid Pokemon all around. It's going to be fantastic to hear how Doesn't Click plans to bounce back after a year where they missed the playoffs.
After that, we've got the Matt Alcinas. That has nothing to do with me. This is Ben and Vishy playing on this team. Looks like they're going for quite a bit of hyper offense here, especially with that Politoed and the Gmax Inteleon. That's going to be really nasty, especially next to the Dark type Gmax Urshifu breaking through protects. They've got a little bit of support with Incineroar. They've got Fungus to help balance out that Trick Room matchup. Maybe even a slow Magnezone to help out with that as well. Looks like a pretty threatening, pretty scary team. A lot of damage output.
After that, we have us. We have the Amoonguss Burnouts. For our draft, we're actually not going to be grading our own draft. We're going to be having Hector and Alan from the LA New Wave conducting our report card and then giving us an analysis. But just to go over our team real quick, we went with Duraludon first overall, and then we came back and grabbed Grimmsnarl. And then you also have the Blastoise, Volcarona, and the Gourgeist to complete the Firewater Grass core that we like to run. Lots of different. We went for versatility more than everything, so we can't wait to talk to the LA New Wave and kind of go deeper in on some of the stuff that we're planning to do this year. We have some cool stuff, and we're really excited to show it to you guys.
And finally, we have the Melee Mimikyus, which to start with picked up two of the best redirectors in the format. Blastoise, very bulky. Clefairy being a great support Pokemon with Friend Guard. They've got two big physical steel type sweepers in Durant Cobalion. Sneasel for beat up stuff on Cobalion. They've got a double intimidate with the Torracat and the Krokorok, and a bit of a trick room mode with Duosion, Wigglytuff, and Maractus, which is a pretty interesting choice as well.
So the draft turned out pretty good. I really like a lot of the teams. We got to interview pretty much 10 of the 14, and we got some really good insight. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we graded some of these teams and the metrics that we used to do that. We use four overall metrics: synergy, threat level, the draft grade, and then the overall team grade. To talk first, I'll talk a little bit about synergy. One of the things that we were looking for a lot was whether or not you completed either a Firewater Grass core or a Dragon Fairy Steel core. Obviously, there are other modes too. Matt and I ran something like a Psychic Dark Fighting core that was really effective for us last year. So obviously, we're not looking just for those cores. We're looking for good type synergy, so that way you guys can cover it. You have other Pokemon that are covering some of your more powerful types, and then also some pairs that may go together just in general. Stuff like if you look at our draft, the Duraludon, and the Grimmsnarl go together really well. There's something that you've seen a lot in the VGC. They just tend to support each other and have a good synergy. Even though obviously you have the Fairy Dragon Steel, there's a lot more to it than just the typing. So we're looking at pairs like that, stuff like Dragapult and the Colossal and stuff like that. Stuff you wouldn't necessarily think they synergize, but because of their abilities and some of the stats that they may have and some of the access to the moves that they may have, they actually end up synergizing pretty well.
And we're also looking at how the kinds of support and speed control that Pokemon tend to
Oh, yes.
take advantage of as well. Do you have Pokemon that benefit from the same same kind of support. After that, we're grading teams on their threat level. This is a lot of this has to do with how much damage output do you have, how much sweeping potential do you have, how much are your Pokemon forcing your opponents to prepare? Do you have a lot of threats that people hate to see in team preview that are going to make your opponents go, oh my god, we need to prep for that, otherwise it's just going to screw us over if it catches us off guard. How disruptive can your Pokemon be? So it's not just all about offense. If you have an amazing follow me Pokemon, like Indeedee, for example, that's going to be really threatening. For example, it's going to be shutting down all priority moves, protecting your team from ghost type attacks. So it's a lot about what is forcing prep, and what's going to be most threatening, offensive, and disruptive to your opponents. After that, we are grading on uh, the draft order. Yes, this is how good you were at allocating your points. It has to do with the order in which you chose your Pokemon. Did you snatch something too early that might still be there later? Maybe you reached for it a little bit too much. Did you wait too long to get a particular Pokemon, and maybe it got sniped from you, so you have to take your second, third, or maybe even fourth choice, worst case scenario. Did you maybe spend too many points? Were you maybe a little bit short sighted in the beginning, and turns out maybe toward the end you had very very few points left and couldn't really pick up anything of any value to fill the holes in your team, or did you kind of plan out everything from the beginning long term, and end up with a more balanced team? We're kind of looking at your ability to draft a good team.
Yeah, budget allocation is a really important thing
It
too,
is.
that we really consider a lot. After that, we look at your total team grade. Typically, this will just be the average of the three grades that we have: synergy, threat level, and how you drafted your draft grade. But we also make sure that even if we wanted to make sure that the team preview and the team composition matched up with that overall grade, rather than just averaging it out. So while a lot of them did actually end up just being the average grade from that, we went through and made sure, detail by detail, to make sure that the overall draft grade that we gave reflected the team preview, not necessarily the players or the pilots behind it. We try to do our best to kind of keep that out of it. But, obviously it's hard to keep that bias completely out. We know some of these players, we've played with them before. And even if something doesn't look good to us on paper, we kind of have preconceived notions on how they may run stuff like that and whether or not they'd be successful with it. So the total overall grade is just kind of the average of all the grades, but we also made sure that if stuff didn't look right, we would change it to make sure it reflected the team properly. So with that being said, we're going to get into our first team. In the next video, we're going to be talking to the Melee Mimikyus. Actually, our opponent for week one.
They are.
For week one.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to talk to them, and definitely it's going to be interesting to talk to the rest of these teams. So stick around, and we have 14 teams to talk about, so we got a lot to go. So stick around.